They say trust is like a muscle. You have to work on it every day. Well, my wife's been working real hard at the gym lately. 2 hours a day. 6 days a week. Cardio, yoga, sauna, you name it. Folks in our neighborhood call that discipline. I call it something to keep an eye on. Name's Frank Doyle, 58. Born and raised in Round Rock, Texas. I built houses for 40 years, turned a small carpentry crew into Doyle Construction, and sold it last spring for more money than I'd ever need. After that, I promised myself one thing: no more noise. So I bought a brick house out by the hill country, planted a few trees, and started living quiet. My dog, little Frank, keeps me company. My wife Linda keeps the calendar full. She's 41. Smart, confident, knows how to light up a room. When we met at a charity dinner 6 years ago, I was just a lonely widower, with too much time and not enough laughter. She brought both back into my life. I thought we balanced each other. Her charm, my steadiness. But you can't balance what you can't see. Last Wednesday started like any other. My F-150 coughed its last breath outside HEB starter gone. So I took her Lexus RX, the one that smells like leather and Chanel perfume. Smooth ride, comfortable, always spotless. She treated that car like a second skin. I planned to swing by Harbor Fit around 7, to pick her up. Maybe grab a smoothie together. Just a small surprise in an ordinary week. But life has a way of showing its cracks in the smallest places. It was still light when I pulled into the gym's lot. Asphalt shimmering in that kind of Texas evening, where even the shadows sweat. Through the glass front, I could see treadmills running like conveyor belts. Music pulsing. Pop songs about forever love and good bodies. The security guard walked toward me before I could park. Big guy, shaved head, friendly grin. His name tag said, Eddie. He waved a hand, and said, "Hey man, you're early today." She forgot this. He held up a black gym bag. She, I asked. Yeah, your wife. Her husband dropped this off earlier. My hand froze on the steering wheel. Her husband. I repeated. Eddie nodded like it was nothing. Yeah, the guy in the gray Range Rover. Happens all the time, man. Couples forget stuff, we just pass it along. I didn't correct him. Didn't frown. I just smiled the way polite Texans do, and said, "Appreciate it." Then I parked the Lexus, rolled down the window, and let the air hang thick around me. The bag sat on the passenger seat. Small but heavy, like it knew something I didn't. For a minute I told myself to just drop it off inside, play dumb, wait for her. But curiosity is a muscle too, and mine had been working overtime. I unzipped it. Inside was a towel, a bottle of perfume, a phone charger, and a men's Rolex Submariner. Black dial, still ticking. Under that, a folded t-shirt from District 23 Boutique in Dallas. Men's size large. I lifted it, felt the warmth trapped in the fabric, and underneath found a crumpled restaurant receipt. The Pecan House Restaurant, Austin, Texas. Dinner for two, $184.20. Tip 20%. Name on the card, Jason Reed. The hum of the air conditioner turned hollow. My heartbeat didn't rise. It sank like a stone in still water. I folded everything back exactly as I'd found it, zipped the bag, and rested my hand on top for a long time. At 7:48 p.m., Linda came out, ponytail damp, phone in hand, face glowing like she'd just run from a dream. "Oh honey, you fixed the truck?" she asked, cheerful. Maybe too cheerful. "No," I said calm. "I took your car instead. Hope that's fine." She blinked. Quick smile. "Of course it is. Why are you waiting outside? You could have texted me." "I like the view," I said, holding up the gym bag. "Eddie said your husband dropped this off." That smile cracked for half a second. So fast, most men would have missed it. "My what?" she said. "The guard said your husband brought it earlier." She laughed, thin and nervous. "Oh that. He must have meant one of the trainers. Everyone jokes around here." I nodded slowly, like I believed it. "Yeah, must be that." We rode home with the radio on low, the kind of silence that fills all the space between notes. She kept her phone in her lap, thumb scrolling like it held oxygen. At one point a message flashed across the screen. "Jason." I didn't say a word. Just watched the headlights pass over the dashboard, lighting up the wedding ring she never took off. That night, while she slept, I sat in the kitchen with the lights off and poured myself a glass of whiskey. The bottle made a soft glug-glug, like a heartbeat underwater. I opened the gym bag again, turned the Rolex over in my hand. The sweep of the second hand was steady, calm, merciless. I thought of every nail I'd hammered straight, every beam I'd measured twice. There's no rush in real work, no shouting. You build, you fix, or when it's time, you dismantle. I didn't feel angry. Anger is noise, and I've had enough of noise. So I made a quiet promise to myself that night. I wasn't going to yell, or cry, or beg. I was going to measure. You don't burn 40 years of patience over one lie. You measure how deep it runs. The next morning, the house smelled of coffee and dog food. Sunlight came through the blinds in pale stripes across the kitchen table. Linda was upstairs getting ready for work. She moved slower than usual. Maybe tired, maybe thinking. I couldn't tell. After all, liars move the same as the innocent, just quieter. I finished my coffee, clipped little Frank's leash, and took him for a walk around the block. Old neighbors waved, sprinklers hissed. Nothing out of place. Normal life is a good disguise. It hides rot under fresh paint. By 9, I was back home. I changed shirts, drove the Lexus back to Harbor Fit, and parked across the street. The morning crowd had thinned. Mostly retirees and a few moms finishing yoga. Eddie the guard leaned against his booth with a styrofoam cup of sweet tea. "Morning, boss," he called when he saw me. "She'll forget something again." I smiled. "Nah, just curious about the fella you mentioned yesterday. The one in the Range Rover." He grinned. "Oh yeah, Jason Reed. Trainer here. Real popular. Helps a lot of the ladies get in shape. Your wife's one of his top clients. Good for her." "Yeah," I said. "They work great together." "Same energy," he said. I nodded and walked away. Same energy. That phrase stuck. It usually means someone's forgotten who they married. Back home, I dialed an old number from memory. Carl Weston, the voice rasped. Half gravel, half humor. "Carl, it's Frank Doyle." "Well, I'll be damned. Haven't heard that name since we built the courthouse addition. How you doing, old man?" "Could be better. Need a favor." "Quiet one. Private job. Just eyes on someone. A trainer named Jason Reed, works at Harbor Fit." Carl paused. "You think he's fooling around with Linda?" "I think he's getting paid too much for fitness." He chuckled low. "Give me 3 days." 3 days later, Carl showed up at my workshop carrying a manila folder and 2 gas station coffees. He dropped the file on the workbench. Didn't take long. Inside, photos. Linda and Jason, in Fredericksburg, sitting across from each other at a patio restaurant, wine glasses glinting under fairy lights. Jason's hand on hers. Another shot of them walking down Main Street, his arm brushing her waist. Date stamp. Last weekend. Guy's 32, divorced, Carl said. Fired once in Dallas. Same reason. Boundaries with clients. Nothing criminal, but a pattern. I stared at the photos. "You sure it's recent? Timestamps don't lie." "And here's your cherry on top. Hotel invoice. Blisswood in room 214. Checked in Friday, 2:41 p.m. Checked out Sunday 11:05. I took a slow breath. That's efficient. Carl studied me. "You going to blow up, or you going to build a plan?" I smiled a little. "You know me, Carl. Measure twice, cut once." That night, I read the Harbor Fit membership agreement. Halfway down, Section 4.2. Trainers are prohibited from personal or romantic relationships with active clients. Violation may result in termination. There it was. The rule written by people who'd already seen this movie. Linda came home humming, hair still damp, gym bag on her shoulder. The other one, not the black duffel. She kissed my cheek. "You want leftovers?" "Sure," I said. "You have a good workout." She smiled. "Best one all week." I bet it was. After dinner, she scrolled her phone while I watched the evening news. I could see the glow on her face every time a new message popped up. Her smile was private, the kind that doesn't need an audience. When she finally went to bed, I sat alone with the TV's blue light flickering over the living room walls. On the coffee table, the photos lay face down like cards I already knew how to play. I called Carl one last time. "I owe you. Just buy me a beer next time you're free," he said. "What's your next step?" "Something clean," I said. "Something that'll stick." He laughed softly. "That's the Frank Doyle way." Before turning in, I opened my laptop and typed out an email to the gym's general manager. "Mr. Price," I told him. I had information about a policy violation, and preferred to discuss it in person. Professional, Simple. No drama. When I hit send, I felt the quiet click in my chest, like the sound of a lock sliding into place. The next morning I was already halfway done with my second cup of coffee when Linda came down, bright and breezy. "You okay?" she asked. "Never better," I said. "Just thinking about some home repairs." She smiled, kissed the top of my head, and left for her private stretching session. I watched her taillights fade down the street, then whispered to myself, time to measure again. Saturday morning came warm and clear, the kind of Texas morning that smells like cedar and sunlight. I sat on the porch with a mug of coffee, watching a blue jay bounce along the fence. Little Frank snored beside my boots, legs twitching from some dream only dogs understand. Inside, the house was quiet. Linda was still asleep upstairs, her phone charging on the nightstand, screen black and still. When you've built houses all your life, you know when something inside the walls has shifted. When the frame's off by a hair, you don't panic. You just take out your tools and start measuring. By 7:30 a.m., I was at my desk. I logged into our joint accounts. In less than 10 minutes, I removed her as an authorized user on the Amex card, canceled the autopay for Harbor Fit, and stopped payments to the salon and her monthly subscription boxes. Not out of spite. Out of principle, a man has the right to choose what he funds. Next, I called Lexus Financial Services. The RX was titled under my name. I had the main key fob. I told them to deactivate the spare. They said it would update within the hour. That's how you close the valves. Quiet, legal, final. At 9, I printed 3 things. The photos Carl gave me, the gym's policy section on trainer-client relationships, and a short note explaining what I'd witnessed. I placed everything in a neat folder, labeled it Policy Concern. Then I called Mr. Price, the Harbor Fit general manager. "Sir," I said, "I'm not calling for drama. Just want to protect your reputation. I think one of your trainers is crossing the line with an active client." He sighed. "You'd be surprised how often we get that. Can you bring what you have?" "I can, and I don't want it to get messy." "Understood," he said. "I'll handle it discreetly." At 10:30 a.m., I drove to Harbor Fit. The parking lot was half full. Sunlight bounced off chrome bumpers. Inside, the air smelled like disinfectant and ambition. Mr. Price met me in his glass office. Clean desk, framed degrees, a little bowl of mints, the kind of man who manages problems before they grow teeth. I handed him the folder. "Everything's in there," I said. "I'm not looking for trouble, just honesty." He skimmed the pages, exhaled slowly. "That's clear enough. We'll review immediately. Jason's a good trainer, but this is serious." "It's your policy," I said. "I'm just helping you enforce it." He nodded. "Give me until Friday." We shook hands. His grip was firm, respectful. I left knowing the wheels were turning. That afternoon, Linda came downstairs in yoga pants, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hey," the gym called. My payment bounced. "Did you change something?" "Bank's probably updating systems," I said, sipping my coffee. She frowned. "Can you fix it?" "Soon," I said. She shrugged and kissed my cheek. "Don't forget dinner with the Crawfords tomorrow." "Wouldn't miss it," I said. When she left, I stood in the doorway, watching her drive away. That car gleamed like nothing could touch it. I went back inside and opened the second duffel bag I'd bought the day before. Identical to hers. Inside I placed a printed photo from our wedding, a copy of the gym's membership policy, and a short note written in my own hand. Every gym has a code of conduct. So does marriage. I zipped it shut and set it by the door. By late afternoon, clouds rolled in over the hill country. The wind rattled the porch screen. I sat in my recliner, dog at my feet, listening to the house settle. If Linda noticed anything, the smaller balance on her account, the subtle distance, she didn't show it. People in denial never do. That night, as the rain started, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, turning slow. Linda slept sound beside me, unaware the floor beneath her life was shifting. Sometimes revenge doesn't come with thunder. Sometimes it's the quiet drip of a closing valve. Friday came dressed like any other day, but I woke with a pulse in my hands. The kind that knows something's about to give. The sky was a dull silver, clouds stretched thin over the hill country horizon. The coffee tasted burnt, or maybe I just noticed more. Linda moved around upstairs, humming, pulling on her leggings, her trainer tank. She called down, "You okay, Frank? You look serious." Just thinking about some old projects, I said. She smiled, didn't press. That's the thing about people hiding something. They don't want questions, so they don't ask any either. By 4:45 p.m., she left for Harbor Fit. Said she had a new program to try. I watched her taillights fade down the driveway, then grabbed my keys. The Lexus purred steady under my hands. I parked a block away from the gym, same as before. Inside, the bright lights flickered off polished floors, mirrors, and chrome weights. Pop music thumped overhead, too cheerful for what was coming. Through the glass, I spotted her on a treadmill near the front. Jason, the trainer, stood beside her, lean, young, that smug grin you see on men who think the world's theirs to lift. He adjusted her stride, fingers brushing her arm too casually to be professional. She laughed, tossed her hair. I looked down at my watch. 5:42 p.m. Right on time. My phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Price. We'll handle it now. You can observe quietly if you wish. I walked inside, pretending to scroll my phone. The air hit cold and sharp. That mix of sweat, soap, and disinfectant. Eddie the guard waved. Evening, Mr. Doyle. Evening, Eddie. He hesitated, like he wanted to ask more, but didn't. At the front desk, I saw Mr. Price step out from his office, with a clipboard in hand. He spoke to Jason briefly, voice calm but firm. Then he gestured toward the hallway. Jason frowned, laughed nervously, followed him back inside. The glass blinds shifted. 10 minutes ticked by. Slow, deliberate. People on treadmills kept glancing toward that office door, like animals sensing rain. Linda stopped running, checked her watch, looked toward the hall. Her foot tapped. Something inside her already knew. When the door finally opened, Jason came out with a gym bag slung over his shoulder, face pale, jaw tight. No shouting, no drama. Just the kind of silence that means terminated effective immediately. He walked through the lobby, without meeting anyone's eyes. A few members whispered. Linda froze mid. The smile died right there. She turned and saw me. I was leaning against the counter, calm hands in pockets. The clerk glanced between us and, without thinking, handed me the black duffel bag I'd brought earlier. Here you go, sir, she said, cheerful. You wanted Mrs. Doyle to get this. Thank you, I said, and placed it on the counter. Linda walked over, voice low. Frank, what are you doing here? Just making sure policies are followed. Her eyes darted toward the office door. Did you talk to him? I did. Seems they take integrity seriously around here. She whispered, you humiliated me. No, I said quietly. You did that all by yourself. She stepped closer, voice shaking. You had no right. I had every right, I said, meeting her eyes. I paid for your membership, for his time, for the car that drove you here. I was the sponsor of this little fitness program. At the counter, the clerk swiped her membership card to check something. Ah, Mrs. Doyle, looks like your payment method's been removed. You'll need to set up a new one. Linda's breath caught. Her hands trembled as she turned toward me. You cut me off. I just stopped paying for what wasn't worth keeping. People nearby were pretending not to watch, but you could feel it. The quiet thrill of a small-town truth laid bare. I nodded toward the duffel. That's yours. There's something inside you might want to read. She stared, speechless. Eddie cleared his throat behind the desk. Everything all right, Mr. Doyle? Everything's fine, Eddie. Just setting things straight. He nodded, slow, respectful. Understood. I turned toward the door. Linda called after me, voice cracking. Frank, wait, please. I paused just long enough to say, I told you once, I build homes for a living. I know when a foundation's cracked beyond repair. Then I walked out into the evening air. Outside, the parking lot glowed under the orange sunset. Jason stood by his car, stuffing gear into the trunk, jaw tight, eyes burning. For a second he looked like he wanted to say something. I met his gaze and shook my head once. He looked down and slammed the trunk shut. When I got into the Lexus, the leather seat felt cool, steady. Through the rearview mirror, I could see the reflection of the gym. Linda still inside, motionless, clutching that black bag. The sun slipped lower, washing the sky in red and gold, the same color as endings. The next morning felt lighter than it had in months. Sunlight spilled through the blinds, dust floating like tiny sparks in the air. The house was quiet, peaceful quiet, not the kind that hides something. I made coffee, opened the door, and stepped onto the porch. The hill country stretched out in front of me. Oak trees waving lazy in the wind. Little Frank lay at my feet, chin on his paws, tail thumping every now and then, like he understood everything. Linda didn't come home. She didn't call either. I figured she was in Dallas with her sister, or maybe just driving until the silence caught up to her. Didn't matter. Some lessons are learned on long roads. By 9 a.m., I got a text from Mr. Price. Situation resolved. Mr. Reed's contract terminated. We appreciate your discretion. Discretion. That's a good word for men my age. We don't need crowds or applause. We just want things put right. A week passed. I heard from a neighbor that Jason had packed up and moved somewhere south. Maybe Houston. Word around the gym was he'd violated policy. No details, just quiet judgment. The kind that lingers longer than shouting ever could. As for Linda, her card stopped working. Her Lexus fob no longer synced, and the mortgage reminders went straight to her email instead of mine. Nothing illegal, nothing cruel. Just the natural closing of doors that had stayed open too long. I started spending more time at the VFW hall, helping younger vets file benefits paperwork, sometimes sharing a beer after meetings. They talk about lost years, broken trust, and I just listen. The older I get, the more I realize listening is the work.